Don't show your face here again. You're dead to this family, Dad spat, his voice shaking the walls. Behind him, Harper leaned against the doorway like a queen admiring her chaos. Then she smiled, slow, cold. Enjoy that money I hid for you. I froze mid-step. What money? I whispered. I never got a dime. Dad turned like he'd been slapped. His eyes locked on hers, and for the first time in my life, she blinked. The door slammed behind me. By midnight, Harper texted me. What did you do? I just laughed. And waited. Then the phone rang. Dad's lawyer. Voice tense. We need to talk. Now. I'm Ava Collins. And if you think you can handle this, don't blink. What if your worst enemies shared your blood and your last name? Harper and I were raised in the same house, fed the same food, given the same bedtime stories. But she learned how to take love. I learned how to earn it. She always had a way of twisting facts into fiction and fiction into gospel. My parents believed her even when she cried wolf over stolen lip gloss, fake bullying, or how I pushed her when she fell. I stopped fighting it. Stopped proving myself. Let her win. But Mom's death changed everything. Her life insurance policy was supposed to be split between us, something she made clear in every letter, every meeting, every dinner table promise. When I never saw a penny, I assumed it was grief. Delay. Paperwork. But it was Harper. She'd taken it. Lied. Forged. Manipulated Dad. And now, in a twisted moment of pride, she'd confessed, thinking I was already gone for good. But she didn't know I'd found the backup. She didn't know Mom left me a letter. She didn't know I'd already sent copies to the lawyer. And she didn't know that Dad was about to find out exactly who she was. You don't erase the quiet daughter. You just teach her how to strike in silence. And I was done being quiet. I met Dad's lawyer at his office, just past dawn. The sun hadn't even cleared the trees yet, but the truth didn't wait for daylight. He looked pale, sleep-deprived. She told your father you asked her to hold your half, he said flatly. That you were unstable. That you'd ruin it. I didn't blink. That's a bold lie for someone who bought a brand new Lexus the same week Mom died. He flinched. She told him it was from her fiancé. Harper doesn't even like men who can afford her. She prefers ones she can control. He looked at me for the first time. You're not here to explain. You're here to end it, aren't you? I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope. Mom's handwritten letter. Dated. Initialed. Tucked behind an old photo of us on the beach. One of the last days we were all together, before the cancer, before the lies. He read it in silence. When he reached the last line, his hands trembled. If Ava is reading this, it means Harper lied. Again. Give Ava everything. She's the one who saw me, even when I couldn't see myself. He swallowed. This changes everything. I leaned forward. No. It clarifies everything. An hour later, Dad called me. His voice was quiet. Cracked. She told me she did it for you. She told me she hid my money, I said. Not stole it. Silence. I didn't want to believe it, he said. But the lawyer, he showed me your mother's letter. And the bank records. Harper's withdrawals started the day after the funeral. I know, I said. I've known for weeks. I just waited for her to bury herself. You could have come to me. I tried. I whispered. You just listened to the louder daughter. He didn't respond. But that night, Harper did. A knock on my door. 3 soft taps. I opened it and found her there, mascara smudged, jaw clenched, holding a duffel bag. I'm not here to beg, she said. Good, I replied. Because I'm not here to forgive. And then I handed her the court summons. Harper's laugh echoed down my hallway. Not loud. Not amused. Just desperate. You're really doing this? She said, waving the summons like it was a party invitation. After everything? I leaned against the doorframe. Calm. Cold. After everything? That's exactly why I'm doing it. She stepped forward, eyes wild. You don't understand how this looks. To Dad. To everyone. I smiled. Oh, I do. That's why I filed with the county clerk and emailed every piece of evidence to the Family Trust Board. You don't just get caught, Harper. You get documented. For a moment, her face cracked. The mask she always wore, the charm she weaponized. All of it slipping. You really want to destroy this family? She whispered. You already did. I'm just putting your name on the rubble.
She didn't speak.
She couldn't, because she knew what was coming. The court date was set for 10 days out. The charges? Financial fraud, forgery, misappropriation of inheritance. Dad had no choice but to sign off once he saw the ledgers. Over $238,000 siphoned through false checks, forged authorizations, and personal spending that screamed guilt. A week before court, Dad invited me to the house. The house. The one I hadn't stepped foot in since the day he told me I was dead to this family. He stood on the porch in the same jacket he wore to Mom's funeral. His hands were shaking. I owe you an apology, he said. But I know that's not enough. No, I said. But it's a start. He handed me something wrapped in blue velvet. I unfolded it slowly. Mom's locket. Inside, a photo of us. Me at 6. Her smiling like she knew I'd one day need to remember this moment. She left this with me, he said. Told me to give it to you when you needed strength. I think now's the time. I nodded. No tears. I'd cried them all out years ago. Harper used to call me the boring one. Said I'd never be anything without her shadow to stand in.
But now?
She was the one running from the light. The courthouse smelled like old wood and regret. Harper sat at the defendant's table, dressed in beige like she was trying to disappear. Gone were her heels and designer smugness, replaced with court-appointed flats and a public defender flipping through a folder of weak excuses. She wouldn't look at me, but I made sure everyone else did. The judge called our case. The room fell into silence as the lawyer stood and began laying it out. Your Honor, we are presenting evidence of systematic financial fraud, beginning within days of Margaret Collins' death. The defendant, Harper Collins, deliberately misled her father, forged documents, and denied her sister the inheritance her mother intended. I kept my gaze forward, steady. No tears. No rage. Just the kind of stillness Harper could never fake. The flash drive came next, the one I'd submitted with notarized records. It contained Mom's journal scans, her handwritten letter, and digital banking history. Then the hospice video. Mom, frail but lucid, whispering, I want Ava to have what I earned. I trust her. Only her. The courtroom felt like it was holding its breath. Harper squirmed in her seat. Her lawyer whispered something to her, but her hands stayed frozen in her lap. For once, there were no tears. No act. Just silence. The judge turned to her. Miss Collins, do you have a response to these claims? She stood slowly, her voice low, flat. I was grieving. I thought I was protecting my father. I didn't think Ava would handle the money right. I didn't think she'd understand what it meant to carry that burden. A gasp from the gallery, one of our cousins, maybe. I stood. What burden, Harper? Mom's money? Or the guilt of stealing it while her body was still warm? She looked at me then. Not with hatred. Not even with anger. With fear. Because she saw what I had become. Not the weak, quiet shadow she used to walk over.
But the storm she created.
One that didn't forgive. Didn't forget. And didn't stop until the truth was nailed into the floorboards of every room she'd ever lied in. The judge spoke. I'll review the testimony and issue a ruling within 48 hours. But I already knew the verdict. Because justice? It wasn't coming. It had already arrived in me. The next morning, Harper's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Local news stations ran with it. Sister exposes inheritance fraud after mother's death. Family feud ends in courtroom bombshell. Margaret Collins' final letter changes everything. And the photos? Not the polished ones from her Instagram.
No.
They used the courtroom shot. Harper, pale, broken, eyes wide with disbelief. I didn't smile when I saw it. But I didn't feel bad either. Because truth doesn't ask for applause. It just asks to be heard. Dad called around noon. His voice was gravel. She's staying in the guest room at my place, he said quietly. Until the ruling. I didn't know where else to put her. I didn't say anything. She asked if I'd testify for her, he added. I told her I already did. For you. That one made me pause. She's still my daughter, he continued. So am I replied. But I was never yours when it mattered. The line went dead a moment later. That evening, I stood in front of the lake house, the one Mom bought with her first real estate commission. The one Harper always called hers because she threw the biggest parties here.
But the deed?
It had my name now. I stepped inside. The walls still smelled like lemon oil and old secrets. I found a box in the closet, one I'd never seen before, labeled in Mom's handwriting. For Ava, when she's ready. Inside were receipts, letters, photos, even an audio cassette. I found an old player in the garage and pressed play. Mom's voice poured through like warm sunlight. If you're listening to this, you already know the truth. And you stayed kind anyway. That's what makes you mine. My hands trembled. Not from grief. From something deeper. Recognition. She'd seen me. Through the noise. Through Harper's performances. Through the years. She knew. And suddenly, every moment I spent being overlooked didn't matter anymore. Because she was always looking. Always waiting for me to rise. I stood in that house and felt it. This wasn't revenge. It was restoration. Harper stole money. But I reclaimed something more powerful. My place. 2 days later, the judgment came down. Harper was officially found guilty of financial fraud, forgery, and misappropriation of inheritance. Her sentence? 5 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and full restitution of the stolen funds, with interest. No jail time. But I didn't care. Because the court gave me what mattered most, full ownership of the estate, the trust, and Mom's legacy. Harper had to hand it all back. And this time, she did it with shaking hands, in a bank office full of witnesses. She slid the final signature across the table without a word. I signed after her.
Calm.
Unshaken.
Done.
Outside, she followed me to the sidewalk.
Her voice was hollow.
I never thought you'd actually do it. I turned slowly. Then you never really knew me. She winced, like the truth stung more than prison ever could. You think Mom would be proud of this? Watching us destroy each other in court? No, I said. But I think she'd be proud of me for surviving you. Harper flinched. And for once, she didn't have a comeback. She looked smaller now. Not because of the sentence, but because her power had evaporated, built entirely on lies, manipulation, and the belief that no one would ever hold her accountable. But I did. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw punches. I documented. I exposed. I survived. She turned and walked away, disappearing into a cab with nothing left but her name, and even that felt borrowed. That evening, Dad came over to the lake house. He stood awkwardly in the doorway like a man who didn't know where he was welcome anymore. I thought I could fix it, he said, by staying neutral. But silence isn't neutral. It's permission. I nodded once. Thank you for saying that. He handed me a folded letter. Your mother wrote this the night before she passed. I wasn't ready to read it. But maybe you are. After he left, I opened it. Mom's handwriting. Wobbly, but unmistakable. Ava, you are stronger than my silence, and kinder than their cruelty. This world will hurt you, but you'll always find your way back to yourself. I pressed it to my chest. No more apologies. No more war. Just truth.
And peace.
The lake glowed golden under the sunset as I stood barefoot on the dock, holding Mom's letter in one hand and the locket in the other. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like someone's shadow. I felt real. Whole.
Named.
Inside the house, the renovation crews had just finished. Fresh paint, new floors, light pouring through open windows. The lake house no longer looked like a museum of Harper's parties or Dad's neglect. It looked like mine. My mother's art lined the hallway, pieces Harper once called messy, now hung in custom frames. Her journals were placed in a glass case beside the fireplace. This was no longer a house. It was a shrine to a woman whose voice had been stolen, and now finally restored. I poured a glass of wine and sank into the old armchair Mom used to nap in. For the first time in forever, I allowed myself to rest. No buzzing phone. No legal alerts. No Harper. Speaking of her, the news reported she'd been assigned community service at a shelter for abused women. I wondered how long she'd last before someone saw through her mask. And Dad? He'd stepped away from the company. Said he was retiring to reflect. Translation: hiding. But I wasn't angry anymore. Some men live their whole lives behind louder voices. He just happened to marry and raise both. I got a text from my attorney. All funds transferred. Title recorded. You're the sole beneficiary now. It's done. I stared at those 3 words. It's done. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like release. I stepped back outside, letting the cool air brush against my skin. I closed my eyes and whispered, "I made it, Mom." There was no reply, but the wind danced across the dock, gentle and warm. Somewhere deep inside me, I felt her say, "I knew you would." I picked up the old paintbrush she left behind and dipped it in color. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was rebirth. And the canvas? It was finally blank. The gallery opening was quiet, intimate, held in the very house Harper once claimed was hers. Now every wall spoke the truth. Each painting told a chapter. Mom's sunrises, her rainstorms, her slow, graceful fight through illness. My childhood, half light, half shadow. And one final piece hung in the center, a storm breaking open over water, with a girl standing still as the sky split apart. I called it inheritance. People whispered. Some cried. A few asked questions. But I wasn't nervous, because for the first time, I was the one telling the story, and it was mine to tell. Later that night, after the guests left, I sat on the porch with a glass of tea and watched the wind move over the lake. The dock lights shimmered on the water like stars had fallen just for me. Then I heard footsteps.
Slow.
Familiar. Harper. She stood at the edge of the gravel path. No makeup, hair loose, hands empty. I didn't invite her, but I didn't send her away. "I saw the gallery in the news," she said quietly. "I didn't come to fight. I wouldn't let you if you tried," I said. She swallowed hard. "I wanted to say, you were right. I waited. And I was cruel," she added. "To Mom.
To you.
To Dad." Silence. "I don't want forgiveness," she said. "I know I don't deserve it. But I do want to live with the truth now, even if it burns." I looked at her for a long time. She wasn't the girl who stole my inheritance anymore. She was just haunted. "That truth doesn't belong to you anymore," I said softly. "It belongs to what's left of us." She nodded, turned, and walked away into the dark. No anger. No drama. Just gone. I sat back, the porch creaking beneath me. I'd thought revenge would taste sweet. But it didn't. It tasted like rain after fire. Cleansing. Quiet.
Real.
Mom once told me, justice isn't about punishment, Ava. It's about restoration. And now, everything was where it belonged. The truth.
The home. The peace.
No more noise. No more shadows. Just light,